We're going to call to order the meeting, our regular meeting of the Heartland School Board on Tuesday, September 6th. We're starting at 6:05 p.m. So we'll start with any changes or additions to the agenda.
I had something I want to suggest for a future meeting.
Yeah.
But that comes at the end of the meeting, right? It's not really a change.
Yeah,
It's just.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just put a note to ask Sarah. Okay. Any other changes or additions? Good. Okay. Okay. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of August 8th, 2022.
I so move.
Moved by Beth. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is that Heather?
That's Heather.
Sorry, I wasn't looking up. Okay, Heather seconds. Okay, is there any discussion on the minutes? Someone might have remembered their child had they read them before school dismissal today. Okay. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes of August 8th, 2022, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So the minutes have been approved 4-0. Okay, with no abstentions. And we'll just note for the record that Colleen has a kid engagement that she did not attend tonight's meeting.
I'll just say it with a straight face.
What?
Saying it with a straight face. Sorry.
It's a very funny typo in the message telling us.
Okay, so we're up to the administrative report. We'll tell you guys about the typo.
There's no
Oh,
public
wait.
participation.
Oh, yes, public participation. I skipped that because I don't see anybody else see any.
Or announcements.
Are there any announcements?
Um,
I hear there's been a fantastic start to the school year.
I think
Yes.
it's in her report.
Oh, there we go.
I will go with some public participation just to say that, like, my third grader and my kindergartner are super happy, and they are loving school and they're loving the teachers. And the thing that both of them have said is that it's really nice to, like, or at least Ruby says that it's really nice to be like in the building this year. She said, I feel like I'm in the building.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. So thank you.
And my kid mentioned how great the new lunch spread was. She says it's so fancy, everything's
Yeah.
behind glass.
It is.
It should be.
Go check that out.
Yeah, it's great.
beautiful.
Okay, we might have to take a field trip.
That might be,
Yeah.
I don't know, that might be change to addition to our agenda.
Okay. Any other public participation? Nope. Okay. So Lindsay, you are up.
Yes, Christine is going to present.
Okay.
The administrative report. So the next slide, Christine. It's not big up there.
Yeah, can we make it big up there? Thank you. Oh, nope, that was me.
You're
Right there. There we go. Oh, it's still off to the side. Or is that just normal? Is it? Okay.
So I added some photos of the first days of school. I realized very quickly after this week, I'm like, oh, I get in the zone. I always forget to take pictures, so I'm going to be better about taking pictures. So we'll get there. I wanted to include a fun activity that staff did during one of the in-service days. So that picture on the right, their task was to work together as a team and create a actual ring out of Pringles. So
Does
that
that have to be
also,
vertical or horizontal?
well, I intentionally made the directions very vague. So most groups did it vertically, but a group did it horizontally, which was pretty cool. So then we had conversations after around like reflective questions about how it felt to work together as a group, what made it easy, what made it hard. Like it was just a fun fun activity for staff, lots of smiles, lots of laughs. It was a good time. And then the first few days of school, the end of last week and today was awesome. With the kids, there's just so many smiles. It was wonderful.
That's great.
To get into all the rooms. It was really, really fantastic.
It's awesome.
Yay. I guess next one. So one of the things that we had talked about last meeting was school safety. And so Alina and I took a trip down to Weathersfield and we talked with BJ, took some photos. And so what the slides next we'll walk through. Next slide, Christine has, right as you walk in, so I kind of did it as you would go in through the door. So these are the doors that you would walk in. When we went, it was still summer, so you're gonna see some doors cracked open. They are not now that school's in session, but they were finishing getting everything set up for this school year. The next side, after you go into the main entrance, this is a little vestibule. I guess it looks even nicer now. You can see the artwork that they've done.
They
It looks
painted in there.
murals painted.
beautiful. Yeah. It looked beautiful then. I guess it looks even better now that it's done.
That's awesome.
So when you walk in through those main doors, this is where you go first. Those gray doors to the front are closed and locked now that school's in session. To the right off of this picture is a large set of glass windows that looks right into the office, so the office staff can look into that vestibule. And the next photo, Christine, so then you'll see those glass there and it looks right in through that vestibule. I tried to be as descriptive as possible on this one. The way BJ had described it to me is that door right there that's open right now. Before a renovation, I'm not quite sure what year that happened, but that door used to be to the right on that same wall. And then BJ's desk used to be almost looking directly at where the door is currently. So her back was towards the main door, but it was just shifted around a little bit. She felt like the way it's set up now is a whole lot safer than what it previously was when her back was towards the door. A couple things she did note though, that if she were to improve things, right now those gray doors in their vestibule go straight into the school building and not directly into the main office. So she would suggest having those two vestibule doors go into the office to go there prior to entering the actual building. Because right now someone has to go technically into the school building before entering the office.
You would need like two sets of doors though, because you wouldn't have the entire school coming through the
So maybe
office.
you would, and then maybe what you do is
First
the office
morning.
staff can just unlock the one
Yeah.
set without
Yeah, right.
unlocking the other.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, that was a suggestion that she had said. And the other piece is that her desk, it's almost off to the right of where you can see BJ sitting. Her desk is an L that goes to the wall. So in an event of an emergency, if she needs to get out somewhere, she has to go all the way around or literally jump over her desk. It's just one or the other option. Heidi in our office had kind of noticed that as well. So, but she's got the ability, so she shifted her desk forward in the main office. So instead of her right now having to go all the way around, she can just slip behind, which is nice. Yeah, so yeah, if ever the event she needs to get out quickly or get to Linda's space quickly for whatever the reason may be, she can do that now because she shifted her desk out. And in here, so where I was standing when I took the picture, Brian's office is to the left of this photo right here, and there are a couple office type spaces behind where you're standing right there.
Yeah.
The next one, Christine. So this one is Brian's office. I took it kind of from the door of his office, and what I just wanted to point out in this image is that he, in that office, does have a nice clear line of sight to anything coming up to the school, as well as so the windows to the left, he can see anything or anyone coming up, but on the windows to the right, you can see anyone trying to enter the building in that one space.
This is a grim question, but is all that glass bulletproof?
It's a good question. I don't.
It is, there's a layer of, what was it? It's almost like a plexiglass layer that they put on top of it, so if a bullet was to go through, it wouldn't shatter, and it wouldn't necessarily go through. It would go through, but it would crack. And there is a layer of protection for that.
Then the
office
panel
as well
wouldn't
as-
fall, it wouldn't just be
Yeah.
open.
Because that's the only issue. I mean, a lot of windows is great, but that's the only issue, obviously.
But I will say, like, because we used to do Four Winds down there, it is so as many times as I've walked through this door and that door, that still makes more sense to me than here.
The Weathersfield situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing when I walk into that building. I
Right.
still hear, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm like, is it gonna work today? There, it's never been an issue.
And, and next, in August, right before our August meeting, Keith from Black River Designs came, talked to us a little bit about a proposal. So I included in the board packet, there's, this was the plan from 2014. And also in the board packet was the proposal from Black River Designs. So I just wanted to include this. It's, the tricky part is some of it's done by hand, so it's a bit challenging. Even when you zoom it in, it is a little bit challenging to see what some of it is. But it's largely where the gym space is now is where our gym is, and adding on some additional spaces. So that was done in 2014.
And bringing all the offices
Yes,
here,
yes.
basically.
Yep,
So,
and moving
Yeah.
forward all the offices. So then the next slide is just a link to their proposal that they had this past August, that they gave to Jim Taft. Sure, yeah. Oh, weird. Are we gonna ask? There you go. Yeah. Good.
Lindsay, while that's being pulled up, can I ask about cameras?
Yep.
Do we have cameras around the school?
Yep.
And who sees them?
Office staff.
Okay, so like, do you have like a screen up somewhere
So
that
we
the
don't
office staff
talk
can actually?
about it.
What?
We don't talk about that part
Okay.
as much in public.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just wanted to know, like, 'cause
Yeah.
I feel like that's something.
Yeah.
But I'll say like, just the minimal training I've had in different school security things is that they say the cameras are actually there for after an incident,
Mhm.
so they can document and see exactly what happened. So they're really not hugely useful for an incident, because it's not like you're gonna be on the intercom saying, this person's coming down the hallway too, or this person, you're not gonna be able to do that.
So it's, I think it was about a 4-page report, but it does go in depth on what something might cost, or what Keith called a pre-bond. I'm trying to figure out how you phrase it.
Say it.
Architectural
Services.
services. Yeah,
Yeah.
pre-bond architectural services. I did ask Jim Taft to reach out to them. I didn't hear back from Jim, but he was going to reach out to them around survey questions. If we had talked about that in August, if Black River Designs had survey questions they've done to different stakeholders, students, community members, staff members. We haven't heard back from them yet, but it is still on our radar to see what they have.
Cool. Yeah, and I, like, having never done this was less than I thought it was gonna be. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was
Way less.
Yeah, I'm really, and I think it's because they've done so much work before.
They've done, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's what Keith had mentioned when he was here in August, that because the work that they did in 2014 was not by any means a waste of funds, because they were able to really use that to help them do this work.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to communicate as part of the process.
Yeah.
You know, the town's already invested, so it'll cost less.
And yeah,
So a COVID-19 update, the nice part is the only thing I've added here is the updated SU COVID guidance. We have been very healthy, which is wonderful, and we'll continue to do what we can. You know, we'll maintain distance when we can, but masks are not required. So we've been, all in all, relatively healthy, which is wonderful. I know, not on roll.
In
Right,
past
here's-
years, in past years, I know we've had like a flu vaccine clinics here and things like that. Would we ever do like flu/COVID vaccine clinics again? Is that even something that's offered?
we could, yeah.
Please do it again.
It's super nice stuff around your brains because it's not.
Yeah, we can add it to the
I
list.
don't have to do it.
It's so great to have the kids get
I
that
know.
done in school.
I love that the kids do it at school. It's
Yeah.
the best experience.
So I can check in with Annette and see
I love when
what
they do it
see
at
what we
school.
can do.
Yeah.
Just a thought, if no one else
So,
thinks
although it was
that's
a
okay.
lot of hard work for
That flu clinic was
It was
really
really
amazing.
crying here.
Yeah.
And the COVID vaccines.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, and that worked out, when we did the COVID clinic here last year, that worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if you could, because they're all due for boosters, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody's due for
The
that.
booster, I know, I just was like, getting excited.
You can sign up.
No, they have a
Okay,
whole bunch of walking clinics. Like there's at Hartford High, like there's 1 or 2 every week.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I didn't know it was
Trying to
and
go.
some in Springfield at the middle school, I think.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
For the booster?
Yeah.
Cool. For any of them though, they have like any of the boosters.
I have
So I wanted to include, you know, in the SU's Leader in Me journey, Heartland is thinking about what we call WIGs, wildly important goals. So that is the work that we're doing in our Leader in Me journey this year. So in the following slides, I have our Heartland WIG and then my lead measures, which I'll talk about what that is in a moment. So then how I can help support students, teachers in having our WIGs in our goals for this year. So we call it our X to Y by when. So this one's based on proficiencies. So ours for Heartland Elementary School is that Heartland Elementary students will increase from 44% to 77% meeting or exceeding proficiencies on the TNP Reading Foundational Assessment by May 2023. So those numbers, the 44% came from the spring TNP reading scores for the whole school. 44% was the amount of students who met or exceeded proficiency. And then 77% came from any of those students who were approaching the standard, meeting the standard, or exceeding the standard. So that was where those numbers came from.
And I'll highlight the same thing I brought up in the SU meeting, that it's the reading foundational assessment. So this isn't the reading assessment. Because what concerned me is that some kids just aren't ready to read until grade 4. And so we would be assessing kids that weren't ready to read yet, but that's not the case. These are foundational reading things, which I think is just important to know.
And we can shout out to Alina for digging deeper into the data for staff. She went into every student assessment and marked the questions the student struggled with so that we could tease it down to the class level of what
Nice.
skills need
Thank
to be
you.
focused on.
Yes,
It was
thank
great.
you.
So we
I
were
said, how long did it take? She was like, a couple hours a day.
The entire summer.
A day.
It was a task for sure but it was nice because we were able to then give grade level trends. So like
Yeah.
just because a foundational skill was a struggle in first grade doesn't mean that same skill was something struggling in 4th grade. So it was
Yeah.
really, really helpful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was
And
great.
you know the kids' foundational skills really well.
Yeah, yep, true.
Okay.
So the next, so lead measures are, what is someone going to do on a consistent basis to help that proficiency growth happen? So I wanted to just share with you my lead measures. So I have 2 that I am dedicating 10 minutes to every staff meeting to demonstrate a foundational reading skill or practice that staff can use in their classrooms. It doesn't, and I would love it actually to not be done by me, but to facilitate that with our instructional coach, Patty Gray, who is wonderful, any of our reading interventionists or classroom teachers, anyone that has a foundational skill that would be willing to present to the staff that they could use in their classrooms. And the second is that I will use the SBI model to give feedback to staff every week. And the next slide will go into what SBI means. So in the spring, I had the opportunity to travel to North Carolina to participate in the Waddington Leadership Cohort. Christine's done it a couple times as well, where we work with other leaders in the state of Vermont, and it's funded by a grant that they send you and they do everything. The flight, everything is included. And so it's wonderful. You're in a room with 20-something other school leaders in Vermont, and we talk about leadership and how to be better leaders, which is really wonderful. So in that, they talk about a method of feedback called the SBI. So it's specifically the S is a situation. So you're describing the situation, what is the behavior associated with that situation, and how does it impact you? So to the left, I gave what a potential example of feedback that I would give to staff. So today during your math lesson, I noticed students were given multiple pathways to meet the learning objective. I was impressed by how much choice students had in their learning. And that, of course, varies from room to room and what you're doing, but I wanted to include an example of what that might look like in practice. I shared those 2 lead measures with staff at our opening days, so they're aware. I kind of preface it, because it could feel a little bit awkward getting feedback like that at first, and so I shared that with them, that, this might feel a little bit awkward, but here's the intention, here's the reason why that I am doing that.
Use this in your marriage as well.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yesterday,
when the dishes were dirty in the sink.
It does not have to be positive.
I know.
Yep.
And you can add,
I know.
add,
I was impressed.
one thing I learned after I did this training was you can add, was that your intent? So SEI, was that your intent? That's the impact. Was that your intent?
So I'm gonna try this out.
It actually really works well.
Yeah, we might need some training.
Yes.
We might need to go down to North Carolina. Other people from Vermont, why do they send you to North Carolina?
That's where the Center for Creative Leadership, a symbol on the bottom, that's where they're based out
It
of.
was a woman named Margaret Waddington. She was from Vermont. She left her funds, her money, to the center, and it has to be used for leadership in Vermont in the medical field, education field, and also for student leadership.
That's so
it's pretty-
fun.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's wonderful. And the campus down there, you walk in there and you're like, oh my God, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay. Is that the end of my, oh no, just kidding. Upcoming events.
Picture day.
The open house community dinner is the 22nd. Picture day is 30th. And we're attempting to resurrect a PTO. And I've actually gotten a decent amount of people that are interested, which is fantastic. So I intentionally did it for the day of our next board meeting. So it'll be from 5 to 5:45. We'll just do it here before the next board meeting. And I will likely tap into, Lima Roberts is really kind of helping in this, which is fantastic. But I will likely also tap into Carrie Jewell over in Weathersfield. She is spearheading the PTO in Weathersfield and is a great resource and has been more than willing to email her and ask her questions. So, yeah, it'll be good.
Cool. And I know that they wanted to do some outreach at the open house. And we can find a way to do that even though they're not like officially organized.
Mine is coming.
Okay, good.
Yes, so mine will be there.
Sign-up table.
Yeah, she's gonna have a sign-up
Awesome.
table, like anyone that wants to be a part of the PTO, go ahead and sign up, and she'll be there.
Do you know, but like, is the school meal program, like, you're gonna have a, get your forms in kind of drive at
Oh,
open
that's a
house?
good idea.
Fill the form.
Yeah.
It's a
We
whole
have-
campaign.
Yes, we've got that.
Form is
We got that.
different and
Form
easier
rules.
this year though.
There's two.
Yeah.
So
So I'm doing it at my open
Yeah.
house following, no, I'm doing it at my open house the 21st.
Yep.
So if you need me to bring anything from there, right?
There's one online form, and then there's one paper form.
Okay, it just depends on where, like, what, if like you're doing like my meal plan or other things like that, if you have to use like a special online.
You do my school apps, right? And that's the one that you do online. It's the free and reduced form. And then the campaign for fill the form is income-based. It's similar information, but this is what the state's gonna use going forward for title.
The paper form.
Of course.
And so we have 2 fully funded title teachers in our school. It's really important that everybody fill this out.
So even if you don't think you qualify,
Yeah.
it's really important to let
Everybody
everybody
has to fill
spread that word.
Yeah.
And that one was a lot easier than the old form.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because you just had to, you just check
box.
ranges.
Yeah, you just
And
had
so
to
you
do
didn't
the
have to like
ranges.
put down your
Dig
actual
through your
income,
tax
like,
like-
I don't think it was just literally circling income range.
Yeah.
So it was easier.
Because I always felt like I needed to know the exact number and then I would go digging through boxes.
They might check.
Yeah, I know, because that's who I am.
They might check. All right. Any questions for Lindsay before we go? All right,
Thank you.
what I've done is I have linked my report from 2 weeks ago at the WSESU board meeting, and I'm just gonna highlight some things from there. And try not to be redundant, but some of you don't go to those meetings, but some of you do, so I'm trying to balance.
So I think it was only in there.
So,
I was there. I was in person.
yeah, I think he was there.
So I
So,
wasn't
as Lindsay shared, we've done a lot of work around Leader in Me. We had the administrative team together with our coach. We had each individual school team together with our coach for a day here, a day in Weathersfield. I think we split Windsor in 2 halves for high school and elementary, and Albert Bridge joined. But we're, as Lindsay shared, Heartland is moving to Core 2, which is really about goal setting, which is important. It adds on to Core 1, which is all about student leadership roles, student engagement, learning the habits. But Heartland will move to Core 2 in October. So we set our SU level weights and lead measures on one. And the way that it works is the school goal will be in line with this goal, because we're all working on, when we looked at the data, we're all deficient in reading foundational skills across the SU. So each school will have a goal relating to that. It might look a little bit different based on what your school data shows, or your classroom data, as Lindsay and Alina shared, but this will be the SU goal. And if everybody is working on those goals individually in schools, in classrooms, in students themselves, we should reach this SU-wide goal. That's the thinking. So our goal is to go from 56% to 79%, meeting or exceeding proficiency. And lead measures from the administrative central office level are, we're going to be facilitating principal inquiry cycles into a problem practice that is related to teaching reading. So Angie and I are meeting with principals, looking at the data, looking at the observations, and figuring out a problem of practice. And then it's really about learning how to ask the right questions, so staff are very reflective in their practice, and we'll see how to see what the issues are, and then help guide them in improving in those areas. So I did this with Angie pre-pandemic, and we tied it into the supervision and evaluation cycle, so it was an additional work for principals and staff, and it was pretty effective. So we're excited about that. We have a schedule worked out. We're in buildings every week, and so we're moving forward. And then we're going to be coordinating the curriculum through weekly horizontal and vertical meetings, and we have a plan for that as well, which is great. So those are our lead measures for that goal. We have an implementation way, which is to go from Core 0, and this is across the SU, because last year, as we know, was a really challenging year, and some buildings were able to make some progress, and some are kind of starting at the ground level. So we want to get everybody to Core 2 by the end of the year, and that will be measured by the measured results assessment, which is given to teachers, students, parents in the fall and in the spring, and that's how we set our targets for Leader in Me. And our lead measures are going to be that we're going to provide weekly check-in meetings with administrators for progress checking and to identify supports needed. We have a schedule this year for administrative team, which is a little bit different. So 2 meetings a month is the whole team, and 2 meetings a month is just the principals, with Angie and myself and Katie, and that's really to support instructional leadership. So, and then we are going to be doing walkthroughs, collecting data all over the SU to show evidence of implementation related to student agency, autonomy, and student leadership. We'll be sharing that data with schools and with school boards. So those are our lead measures, which we're very excited about. We did at the opening for staff, we asked them what student engagement looks like, what student agency looks like in a classroom. And that survey is due on Friday, but I was looking at it today, looking at all the indicators. So those are the indicators we'll use when we are walking through classrooms. So more to come. And this is just the staff at Heartland in their Core 2 training, looking at WIGs. Our coach is Barb Littner. She came and addressed the board last year with Dana Jean, the other consultant. And she will be coaching principals once a month. She works with the Lighthouse teams regularly as well. So we feel very supported. And then I am ending with this. I hope that you will consider going to the VSBA conference. October, everybody's very excited about that.
Oh, it's already in the calendar.
It is, the theme is, how are the students doing? I have not been to one of the, I was a board member in New Hampshire, and I did go to the New Hampshire Keep a conference with them. Huh?
You haven't been?
I have not been to this, no. So I'm gonna be going this year. I hear it's a great conference where you learn a lot about
It is.
being a
Is it
board
2 full
member.
days?
It's
It
2 full
is,
days,
it's
but you
2
don't,
full work days.
you don't have to go for both, I don't think, right?
No, you can
can
sign up
pick
for
and
one or the
choose.
other,
Yeah.
and there's no like, nobody checking you in or out. It is, you learn a lot.
Yeah.
And there's usually breakout sessions, like small meeting sessions about different topics, and then there's like huge sessions about different topics.
So I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
If it works, it works.
There's an 8-hour training requirement for the board chair to work with the superintendent. So this
So Nikki will be there.
Check this off. So, if anybody sees a future board chair there.
In the future.
In the future, just know that this is how you get it done.
Yes, so, I'll bring it up again, I just wanted to put it on your radar, if you're thinking about going. And you can register right on the site, I believe, something like that.
I think we previously just emailed Lori,
Okay,
well, or whoever was in the receipt.
you can still do that.
Yeah.
Or you can take care of that.
Yeah.
All right, any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I love that so many of your solutions are like to go into the schools. Like, I think it'll be really nice to have a very, like, to have a superintendent presence in all the schools.
It's been
So-
awesome so far.
So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, it's that, I mean, the kids are where I get my energy. I can't not be around
Be
kids.
deflated.
I'd be deflated, it's true, it's true. So, yeah, and we do have a plan, it's scheduled, I mean, I'll go more than that, but it is scheduled, and Angie as well, to be in schools. And I think it's really important. Yeah. All right. Stop sharing.
So I think we're done with the administrative report. Any questions? No? Okay. So moving on to items for discussion, and I know that Heather has a lot for us on how to increase participation in school board meetings.
It's just a small. You want to start?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was trying to talk to people about like, what would make you come to a board meeting? Because I feel like this is, like this is parents' chance to meet us and also, put out there whatever their concerns or whatever they have out there. We know that like most people come if there is an issue, like that's when they're gonna come. Like when everything's hunky-dory, they're like, why should I come? So I feel like we need to find a way for when things are great to still, fill some seats. So I talked to some people, and one thing that was very apparent is like they need reminders all the time. So we need to like, I don't know if the listserv, we can put that out on the listserv, if that can go out there. Lindsay, a couple of parents said if like the week, because your letter comes out on like a Friday.
Yep.
If there's gonna be a board meeting on a Tuesday, can you like put it like right up front in big letters, like board meeting this Tuesday? And that was something. And like, I love that you, like both of you have them on your reports. And they are far down, but if the closer that it comes, can we put it up front? So that's one of them. The other thing is someone said, if we could do food, I would go. So I don't know what that looks like or how we do that. I mean, Alina cooks, so. With all the other things she does, I'm sure cooking for the board meetings is exactly what she wants.
Do they mean like, I want to have dinner, or just like,
You
it would be
know,
nice if there were cookies?
I know, you know what, I think that whatever, they would take whatever they could. So, like,
Like, go
you know,
back to
like,
college. Free food?
like,
Okay.
like plate of cookies, that would be great. Also, I think, I don't know, does this school have like a student council?
We're working on creating, we have a list of students for a student lighthouse team related to Leader and Me.
Awesome.
Yep, and as in the next week or so, we're gonna get them together and have our first meeting, so yes.
It would be really lovely if someone from that group would want to represent the student body once a month and sit right here and just have a seat at the table just to, hear what's going on. Because then that might bring in some parents or some other students who have some feedback. Faculty, do we get faculty to come? Like, do we have a
They
faculty
used to.
rep?
They used to be on a regular rotation.
Okay, so I don't know if that's something that we need to,
That just fell apart in like the last two meetings.
They'll probably be back. They
Okay.
worked that out at their union.
okay.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
faculty rep, and I feel like, I don't know how it is, but I know like in our district, we have like someone who does, like a faculty does like a faculty report, like yours, but not half as, crazy, just sort of reporting out as to like what faculty you're doing and how they're feeling and things like that. And
I would actually really like that.
That
I
would be great, yeah.
yeah, a faculty report would just be nice to hear, like what things are working and what things that maybe, the faculty is reporting they would like more help in or something like that. We're also doing spotlights and you guys are doing it with your faculty members. I've seen it where you're
On my
introducing.
Facebook.
Yeah, like your faculty members like on your Facebook. I don't know if we want to do like a board spotlight. I know this sounds so vain with the five of us, spotlight, because there's only
Would
five of
make
us.
more approachable.
But, it would be really nice to like spotlight one of us per month for the next upcoming 5
Yeah.
months. I just had to do it for my staff at that because I saw your staff stuff and I was like, hey, I want to do that at my school. So I told my assistant principal and he was like, okay, cool, you're first and then you can make the template and everything's great. So I did that and I've got the list of, who's coming up next and stuff like that. So I think a board spotlight, because yes, it would make us more approachable and I don't even know who knows. I don't even know if the faculty knows who we are. Not that I want, but you know what I'm saying.
The new ones don't though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like somebody held the door for me that I've never seen and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I like it. I feel like I love reading their stuff because I'm like, sweet, I didn't know that about them, or I don't even know who this person is. So it's just nice that we do that. Another thing that would be really cool, and I suggested this, is in the beginning of in-service, when you guys have your beginning in-service, I think it would be good for one or some of us to go to the in-service and just have a message from the board, like a positive message of how much we appreciate them and their work and what they're doing. And, whatever initiative we have for our board, whatever it is that we've, feel like needs to be our initiative, they should, faculty and staff should know what that is too. And we should put that out there, here's what we're focusing on. So,
We could still do that at administrative meetings. Like, we didn't totally miss both.
no, I mean, I would to go to a faculty meeting,
Yeah.
but I mean, it would be nice to have, I don't know if your staff members also come to any meetings, but I mean, I feel like our board did that at my school and I just was like, wow, this is really nice. It's really nice. And they read through a policy that they're really trying to promote. And I was like, you know what? I'm behind this. This is great. So I really feel like it's something we should, as board members, I will happily show up.
Do you want me to invite, I'll just send the email out to invite the whole board to our next staff meeting.
And those are on Tuesdays,
Wednesdays.
at 3?
2:30. Yeah, realistically, by the time we get started, it'll around 2:35. When you come get ready to pick up Trevor.
That's when you pick up the kid.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think we should present the radar list and how we got to it.
Yeah.
Because that is how we've been working and those are our priorities and.
Yeah, no, I think that's a terrific idea.
And then my last idea, and this one's a little far-fetched because I don't know if anyone would want to do this, but it would be nice to do a class spotlight. So we pick a class or a teacher says, you know what, my class is doing this, and we bring in the kids, and the kids, spend 10 minutes telling us about the cool thing that they're doing, and maybe even the thing that they're doing isn't super cool, but maybe it's like it's changed something about them, or, you know, like just anything that gets them here doing a little presenting skills. Parents are obviously gonna come to watch their kid. So, you know, and like the teacher can come, the teacher doesn't even have to be here, like whatever happens, but it might just be nice to like have like a class spotlight of like today, the kindergartners would like to show you about, you know, I know that last year they did like the golf balls or in the woods and stuff like that, or even if, you know, just something simple that just gets kids in here to like, I mean, because that's why we're here.
Yeah, we've done some of those and they're
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah,
it's always.
we've done them digitally though.
Yeah, although
There were
before
a
the
couple
pandemic,
in person,
we had some
yeah.
kids come in and like, remember the kids who wanted to have the crepe
Yes.
cards
Yes.
to raise money for their
Yeah.
French trip? And,
Yeah.
you know, there've been
Yeah.
really fun things like that.
Yeah, no, that's been good. I feel like it's
Use it like a schedule
for the older kids.
so they can sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, if I'm working.
I just think like a teacher would be like, we're doing this in class, and like, I'd love for the world to know. And I think it's a good way to show everyone.
Yeah.
what they know.
It's good presenting practice
Yep.
for
I think it's great for the kids.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, that exhausts my list.
That's a
That's a great list.
There you
Yeah.
That's a great list.
So
Um,
whatever you need help with on these, I am more than happy to help or maybe.
Okay.
There it is.
I think some of it's difficult, the way this is all set up is just difficult to engage with.
yes.
And so any edification we can do to the general public about how board meetings are run, like, cause like the whole idea of public participation and announcements, people say their thing, or they yell at us about something, or cheer at us about something, and then we go, and we go on.
Yeah.
And it just seems like if I was on I want feedback, I want a discussion around this, and that's not how it works.
Right.
And so it feels really cold and distant. And so I don't know what kind of remedy you can do for that, because if I was a parent and I had an issue and I wanted to come and talk about it or listen to an issue, and there was no feedback, there was nothing around it, it would feel very like dismissive.
So that's
around it.
after,
And so I don't know I have no remedy to that, because that's what where we're stuck in. But
Although
Yeah.
like the process is the remedy, you know, it's almost like educating people about to say
Yeah.
like, okay, let's say you want to make a change at the school and this is the change you want to make. You know, the first step is A. You know, we cannot discuss it if it hasn't been warned. So just so you know, there won't be any action on the meeting, but you can ask for it to be put on the agenda at the next meeting. You know, maybe just it's educating people about how things actually get discussed and decided on.
Maybe we should make a poster board for the open house
yeah, that's a good idea.
and just have it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of like at the open house, should we have like, you know, like Lucy, like the doctor is in, like just like come and talk to your school board members.
Or we can all wear stupid hats during
Yeah,
the
but then
open
it-
house. to
But then that
identify
creates
ourselves.
open meeting law issues.
No, because
No, I don't think it
maybe
does.
scattered around the school, you know?
Yeah,
like,
we're not talking to each
we're
other.
not talking to each other, we're just listening.
Yeah.
Right, that's true, yeah, I suppose if we're scattered, if we don't have a quorum.
Right, yeah.
But again, I think it's still edification around that process and how things work.
Right, and I know before I was on the school board, I thought, oh, if someone comes to a meeting and wants to talk about something, like, we should just talk about that.
Yeah.
And then once you understand the process and you understand all the, confidentiality is so often the reason that we can't talk about something that someone wants to talk about. And and then it makes sense, but it's true, if you don't understand all of that, it does seem a little cold, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And I think it's an equity issue too, because I think it's a very white culture of the board meeting. And so like if there's a way that we can help make it more inclusive, to help them understand that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
The Mount district just put a blurb on their agenda that basically states, you know, love you to come and participate at a board meeting, or you can write a letter to the board, and it will, I don't know how specific, I can't remember, it will be, you know, if it's warranted, it'll go on in a future agenda to talk about. So
Yeah,
just
but there
be
was a
aware.
lot of talk to in that meeting too, around just like, if you're getting emails from, from constituents, how are they replied to? And how do they make sure people feel responded to and not just
Yeah,
their voice into the ethers?
yeah.
Which is a
I can
tricky
share,
one.
I'll share the
It is.
language with you.
Yeah, share the language, and I'm happy to put that on. I'm also, like, if we, maybe, I feel like a poster board might be the right thing for the open house, and put it like where people see it when we walk in, and I don't know how we want to identify ourselves as board members, but I don't see a conflict with open meeting law as long as we're not talking about things with each other. I mean, all being in the same building and having other people talk at us isn't a meeting.
Especially if, our response is like, hey, our next board meeting is here. I don't know, come and put it in public participation and we can.
Are we all gonna be at that?
The open house?
I will
It's the 22nd.
have to make sure
Yeah.
my open house is in the same.
Yeah, right, 21st.
Your what, anniversary?
No, my open house is the 21st.
Oh.
And here's the 22nd.
So after the meeting, the district meeting about the masks back in March or whatever, and I had contacted the Vermont School Board Association to be like, tell me about Robert's rules, like, is this something we all have to follow? And because I felt the same way, I was like, as a public person,
This is on
who
the
hadn't been
agenda.
elected.
It's on the agenda.
It's on there, yes. And so, but what I was gonna say is like, they were like, nope, you have to follow some order of Robert's rules. Like, it's what has been adopted. And I was like, is there any way to change that? And they're like, not right now. And I was like, okay, cool. Cause there are other meeting stuff, I don't know what the right word is, guidelines, that are really much more inclusive and all these things that you were saying, Beth. So,
That's Vermont statute.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
talk
I-
about.
Yeah.
oh, I know,
Robert's
but like,
rules.
we really gotta find a way to, it would be lovely if we could find a way to move away from it and find something.
It might be good to get it like next month or the month after to have a refresher on open meeting law, on Vermont open meeting law. Because it feels, and this is also on my work on the library board, like it feels like so often our answer for why we can't do something is Vermont open meeting law.
Yeah.
And it just, I think it's really, and once you get into the nitty gritty of it, it makes sense. And like you see the scenarios and you see what can happen if you don't follow it and how it can be really, it can, keep people out of the process and it can, but if you don't, but I think also understanding that what we can do is helpful and makes us maybe less likely to just say like, we can't talk about that open meeting,
Yeah.
So that might be something, maybe even somebody from the Secretary of State's office would give us a little Zoom presentation or something and just.
Open meeting law?
On
There are
open meeting
some
law, yeah.
websites that have like the short version. I think even the Secretary of State's office has like a short
Yeah,
blurb of open meeting law.
yeah. And they've changed it pretty recently too, to make it a little more user-friendly. So I don't know, just a thought that it so often feels like that's
Yeah.
the answer,
Yeah, it just feels like you're making.
And it feels like you're making, right.
Is it part of the SBA training?
I think they do have
It is, you
one.
might be going.
Sorry,
The
Sarah.
20th to 21st.
I can take my
remember.
notes, that's what I'm saying,
I don't
I'll take my notes.
Well, I don't know, are they covering it at the meeting or,
I don't know, I haven't looked at the agenda.
I think they have webinars on it.
On open meeting law.
Yeah, I remember doing a webinar on it when I was first on the board,
Yeah.
so.
And for everybody, they have webinars. They do. For just about any question that you have.
And the man who does the webinars, he emails back really fast.
Yeah.
I have some experience with emailing him some questions and it was like really fast.
Yeah.
So,
They're great. They're a really good resource. Okay, so I think we have some great ideas. And somebody hold me accountable if we create a poster board for the meeting part of the.
okay, put that in the minutes. Wendy
Yeah,
Watkins,
but that's
Wendy
by
Watkins.
the 22nd, that's not gonna show up on my.
I'll try, I'm like traveling for the next week, but
I know.
I'll be back in time to
You're
remind you.
such a good author.
I
I know.
wish I wasn't.
Somebody remind me to come pick up my kid.
I'll send you a reminder.
I need a lot of reminders right now.
Put it in your calendar, we'll put it in your Google Calendar.
I know, seriously.
10-minute reminder.
10-minute reminder, get your kid. I think I might have to do that tomorrow. Okay,
I've only
so
forgotten, like, thought the other one was getting a kid. The other one was.
I got the two times mixed up in my head. And then because they're different pickup times. One of them changes by the day of the week. So, okay, so building update. I feel like we kind of just covered that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any budget updates? Okay.
SU budget meeting, budget committee will start meeting next week.
Okay, yeah, because Colleen's on that. So Colleen is our representative to the budget meetings for the SU, yeah.
So
So,
once that is passed, we can hone in on the local budgets.
okay. Okay, so I gave you guys, moving on to Robert's rules for small boards. There were some questions that came up on Robert's rules at the SU level back in the spring, or maybe in fall, I don't know, a while ago. And then the board chairs were all talking together, and we decided that we should adopt Robert's rules for small boards. And the main difference is that Robert's rules is very regimented, and so anybody who's been to town meeting knows how regimented town meeting is. That is technically Robert's rules to the letter of the rules. And that is not how we run this meeting. Because technically, in Robert's rules, the board chair is not allowed to speak. And that was the issue that we got called out on at the SU level, was somebody said that the board chair was not allowed to speak. But, in a board where there's only 4 people here, having one less voice is pretty significant.
What is the standard of small board? Like what constitutes
12.
Under 12?
Under 12.
Okay.
Definitely qualify.
Yeah, both boards definitely qualify. And so, I don't know if you guys want to take a chance to read this. It allows some flexibility. Like you don't have to stand to obtain the floor. You can sit in your seat and talk.
So motions not need to be
You
seconded.
don't have to second motions, that's interesting.
I guess not. We still second them. That's
And you can discuss before the motion is made,
right.
which is,
Which always seemed to make logical sense in my mind.
It
Yeah.
didn't, or it
It
did.
did,
Yeah.
of course you want to
I
discuss
know.
before you
Yeah.
motion to do something.
Exactly. And we do tend to, we do follow these. I don't need to rise while putting questions to a vote. Yeah, you can do unanimous consent.
Although, there's no limit to the number of times a member can speak to a debatable question. Number 3, there's some circumstances where I'd like there to be a limit.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that necessarily at this board.
right, yeah. Yes.
so we would formally adopt this, and so would the SU board, is the idea.
Yeah, I don't know where the SU board is, but I decided that we would.
Okay.
Well, it seems like we're doing so much of this already.
This is what we're doing, this is
Yeah.
what we're following.
Yes, you
And
vote on the 12.
intentionally, like I did look these up years ago
It's 12.
and followed these, but we never voted that we were following.
Right.
I think we just wanted to make sure we still were following Robert's rules,
Right.
period.
Yeah, exactly.
For our annual meeting, I think we still have to go by
Yes,
full Robert's rules.
yes, yeah, for that official meeting, we still have to do full Robert's rules. So, since we don't have any, is there any discussion, any further discussion?
I don't think so. Is this one that has to be warned though, so that like?
It is warned.
it-
items for
okay,
action
So if
in
anyone,
Robert's rules
okay,
is
you're
warned.
right, it's on
Yeah,
items for
I
action.
did that.
Okay.
Yep. So I just wanted to be able to move forward with it. It's not, I don't think it's controversial. It is what we already have done, and we're just,
Are people under the assumption that we're following just Robert's rules and not Robert's rules for small boards? Is that like,
I don't
people
think
know the
anybody's
difference.
under any assumption.
okay, I just want to make
There's
sure
only
like,
been one person who's ever mentioned anything about it in my, how long have I been in this seat? 8 years?
Yeah.
7 years? Like, there's only been one person ever that's mentioned it.
okay.
So,
So you don't need to formally make a motion to adopt Robert's rules for small boards.
we don't need to.
Do we need to?
I was
Might
just
be-
gonna
might
do
be.
it. Yeah, and then I was gonna put it in our, reoccurring when we reorganize.
Yeah.
To just put it as a official, we adopt the small rules, small board rules.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Um,
Yeah, because it does change slightly the way a member of the public would interact with the board.
To
And
do the Roberts.
doing it this way versus
Okay.
the formal town
Recite
meeting
where
way.
you're,
Just things like the chair not being able to speak and when a proposal, the unanimous consent, so like if someone was coming wanting to like challenge minutes, that would change their experience of the meeting if we were using unanimous consent versus, motion second. So it feels like, something we should do formally and announce and, I have no objection.
And you can still vote on things. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to necessarily be if we're like, oh, no, we really do want to have a vote on this. We don't want to go by unanimous consent. We can
Exactly.
always go back to it, right? It's not like we have to.
If there
And
is
the
a
only thing we
unanimous
really,
consent.
yeah, there's unanimous consent is really the main one that I use it for is adjourning.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're all standing up and leaving the room before we
Exactly.
vote, like
Yes.
that's unanimous consent. So,
So-
otherwise I typically try to have people vote.
So would you like a motion at this point, or?
Yeah, I would take a motion. So we're
Um,
moved on to items for action, which is Robert's Rules for Small Boards. And Sarah, want to make a motion?
So yeah, I would make a motion that we adopt Robert's Rules of Order for small boards as our mode of doing business.
Okay, so Sarah made the motion that we adopt Robert's Rules of Order
I'll
for small
second, since it
boards.
hasn't been approved yet.
Right, there we go.
The last
That's
second,
seconds.
the last one.
Monumental second.
It did always kind of feel weird to me that we seconded. I'm still gonna do that though, because it's gonna take a while for me to not. If it says we don't have to, it doesn't say we have to not
Right,
second.
need not be. Doesn't mean they can't be.
Right, exactly. Is there any other thoughts before we go? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the small board guidelines from Robert Rules of Orders, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? No, so that vote was 4-0. Okay, that's great. That just makes me feel better, just in case somebody else calls us out and we're not caught flat-footed. Okay, so now we are on to setting the next agenda. Sarah?
Oh, yes. So I wanted to revisit, we haven't talked about this in a while, but probably 3 or 4 years ago now, I had a bee in my bonnet about the fact that we are a K-8 school and yet we are called Heartland Elementary School.
That still bothers me too,
And
ever since you said that.
I brought it up like 3 or 4 years ago, and I think it's funny. I don't think there was any objection to the idea. We talked about the fact that Weathersfield is the Weathersfield School and the Albert Bridge School, and so it's funny now having high schoolers who are kind of going out to interact with the world. It is this weird thing where people say, "Oh, where did you go to middle school?" And they say, "Heartland Elementary." And I'm like, no, I'm middle school. And it somehow, I don't know, it kind of, it downplays the seriousness or the rigor of our middle school, I think, to not be more all-encompassing. So, I'd love to revisit that and maybe see if that's something we could talk about changing.
Yeah.
at some point.
What do
I
you
mean-
think it takes?
Well, the sign is broken, maybe.
No, the sign is fixed.
Oh, the sign is fixed. Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
but it was just the word school.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
school.
we'd all have to, we just have to take out the
Portland's
Would be
school.
easy.
I mean,
I mean, I would,
official, just a vote from the board, do you think the community needs to be?
I feel like the
That's a good
community needs to
question.
be, I feel like
Yeah,
the
it's a good
community
question.
needs
So
to.
is it a March meeting topic that we bring up?
I think that's probably a question for, I'm happy to do the research and like call the Secretary of State's office and see if, you know, how we
Let's
do
do
that.
that.
To do.
Yeah.
I think that this is, I mean, I think it's a topic for,
Because
we
Albert
could put it on the
Bridge is
next
just
agenda,
Albert Bridge.
but then I
Bridge-
think it's gonna
Bridge
have to
School.
continue to
Bridge
be,
School.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not something we can do in one meeting.
Yeah, I think it's something that.
If you wanna figure out how to do it,
All the
Especially
specials.
since we're really working hard on a middle school model.
Exactly.
Yes,
Right.
you know.
Exactly.
it's funny though, cause like once your kid gets into middle school, you're like, yeah.
Well, it is funny,
Still
I
go to
tell
elementary
Woodstock
school.
is Woodstock Union Middle and High, right?
Yeah.
Well, they really wanted to do Woodstock Union Secondary School, but you can't do that because that spells WUSS, and no one wanted to be called Wuss.
That's hilarious.
So, but anyways, I think that's all gonna get wiped out. Hopefully someday when we build a new building, it will have a new name and a new mascot and a new everything. We're gonna rebrand. So I think we've just put it all to bed for right now. But
It is funny, I had a conversation with Larry Dower, who comes every week, and we walk around the building, and the sign last week was something we had talked about, because the piece fell off, and he and I were outside, and he was looking into how much the new sign would cost, whether it would
Put
be
a pause
something.
on that.
Yeah, so I'll tell him to put a pause on it, and
We might be able to get fewer letters.
I know.
Yeah, cheaper, all about
no,
the
the word
budget.
elementary is really long.
Which is the next item on the agenda, the budget.
Yep.
Budget,
So that- yeah, that was-
well, I don't know if it'll be there or not, but that'll stay on the agenda
Budget,
until.
yep.
So, I mean, we should, we'll know a little bit more about the SU budget at
We
that point.
should, yeah. We'll start it, yeah.
And I can talk to our union reps around them and I creating a faculty report. I want to get their buy-in on it as well, and we
Yeah.
meet on Fridays, so I will chat with them around what they think that might look like, and
Okay.
so we can, when you and I meet, Nikki,
Yeah.
I can confirm with you whether that might be ready for next month, or if that's something that they may be ready for the following month.
Could you do your lighthouse group too, if you're gonna see if you can get students to?
Yeah, that'd be a good job for them.
Yep, would be.
So,
Okay, so what else do we need?
I was going to get like.
So do you want that? I'm just getting the agenda ready to send to Lori. Do you want faculty report update?
We could put it
On there and we'll
Yeah.
just, or faculty report, yeah, it's about updating.
Yeah.
Let us know where they're at.
That's fine, yeah. I'll know more on Friday.
I feel like on the radar list, something that like, I feel like we've talked kind of a lot about some of these things. Special ed, I don't feel like we've talked about too much.
That's what I was looking at too, we haven't gotten enough.
Yeah, we haven't talked a lot about that. It would be nice to get some information about special ed and like how, I don't know the right questions or words, but like how that's going, not that that's what I'm looking for.
So she does, we do have a plan for reports from the curriculum instructor and the special ed director, but it's at the SU level
Yeah.
It can't be,
meeting.
can it be at school?
I can ask them if they'll do it, if they'll do a school specific. They
We don't need regular updates from.
No, just like,
I
Yeah.
think,
You know what I do sometimes is I go in and watch the videos of the SU meetings, just so I like have so you can just, if you go on the website, you can do that, and they give those updates like at the beginning of the meeting, like about when
They
the
do,
principal and superintendent.
I
So that's one thing, but, you
And
know,
we have a schedule. I know when she's giving reports.
Yeah.
But if you want her to come, I'm sure she would. She just need to know in advance.
and she can come by Zoom too.
And she can come by Zoom.
Yeah. I think, I mean, so,
What would you like in her report?
yeah, so, we haven't seen an update on, our caseload and our case workers.
and just trends too. I know she's given us reports on just trends.
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
very
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and she's, we're experimenting with this new model, which
Yeah.
shared with you all.
Yeah. yeah, I just feel like we've kind of been in the dark on. Because COVID
I
has,
just forgetting.
She is, okay, I'm gonna mess up the vocabulary, it's case manager, schedules all the meetings, does all the paperwork
Within
And then-
one school.
across the SU. I think she has 2 of those SU-wide. So they have a lot of meetings.
yeah,
And then the special ed, what you call them, teachers, they're providing the direct service with not doing paperwork. So it's a new model.
And I can see, like, with my own students, the amount of students who now have 504s due to COVID is like drastically increased. Like,
yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. So I'm wondering, like, is that something that's going on here? With, you know, like a lot of it is anxiety related or just like major gaps and kids aren't able to access their education, so they're being put on 504 plans, like just things like that might be helpful to see if COVID like exacerbated whatever problems were surfaced.
I think we can just say yes, right?
I mean, it could, it's true, but you know, I mean, like maybe this was just waiting to happen. I don't know.
Well, we track our 504s, we know how many you had in your year, just look at that data.
Yeah, and I don't like data is good, but I also kind of want like a gut feel, like,
Right.
have we shifted, have the needs shifted? From, because I feel like, I don't know. I know we've talked to Katie a bunch,
Yeah.
but I,
Well, and I remember the woman before Katie too, I remember her coming in and sort of saying like, you know, we're seeing, you know, I'm seeing a ton of kids with anxiety or a ton of kids who, you know, who aren't ready for kindergarten. And I think that led to the development of the TK program. And so it's really helpful to just hear those trends, I think.
and I also think that we haven't heard much on special ed because it has been running so.
It has.
And so I think that now is the time to check in and see, or touch the pan.
Do you want to ask her?
I'll ask her, I'll just see.
Yeah.
And if
Once
she,
somebody asks her.
yeah, if she can't come, we can.
Yeah, and she could just give us a, yeah.
So I'll ask Katie, so looking for special ed trends, things that she's noticing from her end.
Yeah.
Anything other the trends that she's currently seeing?
Yeah, and then also like, how are we feeling on staffing?
The case manager.
Yeah, how the new model's working.
She did come to the staff meeting, she came to our staff meeting at the end of the year to talk about the shift in funding, which is a shift in.
Yeah,
That's the
that
other
Shift in
question that I would be interested to hear about is
Yeah,
our,
block
you know,
grant, how that opens up. You know, the thing, the paradigm shift, that these are all our children.
Right.
We're all servicing them.
Yeah.
You know. So, yeah, she could report on that.
Yeah, I guess, because Katie started right before the pandemic hit.
She started the pandemic year.
Yeah, I think that's why I feel like have a discussion.
She's doing a phenomenal job, I have to say.
Yeah,
She really is.
yeah, and that's why it's on the radar list, because when things are going smoothly, we forget.
Another thing that do we have like an MTSS system of supports for kids? And does that fall, like, is special ed part of that? And like, how are kids referred and such like that? Is it all the way it's always been? Or has there been a change in how like you refer a kid for a 504 or, you know, like, or special ed or something like that?
We have a very robust, well-oiled MTSS system that we've actually under Brittany's work, we've created a system that is the same in every building in this SU. So we have an SU-wide MTSS system, which took a year to really hone in. and it's working really well. So, and Katie could speak to it as well.
Yeah.
Because it is part of the whole system.
So maybe what we'll do is I'll ask Katie to include that, and then if that's something you want further, we could,
Ready?
come the next time. That sound okay?
Yeah, I think, I just kind of, I feel like we haven't had an informal discussion on, I mean, it's formal because it's in a board meeting, but like, just an open discussion on special education and how she's feeling and where it's going and I think, like, yeah, how we can help, how we can't help. Yeah. Okay, I do think that is a good agenda for next time.
So I want to just say that we may have the final on that lawsuit that we'll have to ratify in public meeting. It's next month. That's what Bill had said.
Okay.
You read that?
Lindsay and I'll figure that out.
Yeah.
And just so board members know, Lindsay and I meet a week or two before, like, we've got a regular scheduled meeting to go through the agenda to make sure that, because there are things that come up after we set this agenda that need to get addressed at the next meeting. And so we go through the things that we talked about that end up on the agenda, and then we add the things that surfaced.
Yeah.
So if there's something that really surfaced for you that hits you in a couple days, shoot me a note. That's not a guarantee that it'll end up on the agenda, but it's, you know, if it's like, if Lindsay's like, yeah, I need that too, and you know, then it'll get on the agenda. Yep. So. Okay, with that, I am going to ask for a motion to go into executive session for personnel discussion and SBAC scores. And for the public, the SBAC stores are still under embargo. The state will not let the public see them yet. So we are allowed as a board to see them, but we have to do it in public in executive session. So, any motions?
And parents can have their individual students.
And parents can get their individual student scores. We just can't see everybody's yet. Right?
I so move to executive session.
Okay? Then. Consent.
You have to do a motion, you have to go.
I know, exactly. Yeah, this is sense.
Okay, the official,
It's a physical motion.
I've heard a motion.
Once you're done,
I'll take it as
Once you've
unanimous
done that.
consent that we've moved into executive session. So,
Can we have a short bathroom break, just like a tiny one?
yeah, and let's tour the,
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Let's go tour the kitchen.
Thank you.
Okay. And
So
can I do both though?
Do you want to, you have to come out? I have to stop recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have to, no, we just, we don't go back into recording.
So I'm gonna stop recording now?
Yep. And then we just have to keep track of the time that we went out. You're all set, you can clean up.
It's 7:18.
Thank you so much.
7:18.
Oh,
Look at us go.
We're going into
Tina.
executive session at 7:18.
So let me stop recording.
Team,
That's
I
impressive.
Lindsay.
Tell them.
Yeah,
This is.
go.
There we go, it's a goal.
This has been.